Just recently, in January of 2023, myself and some of my young adult friends at the Way Movement, we did a mental health seminar/concert on a college campus near us. In the weeks leading up to this event, I was asking myself, what are we going to do from a production standpoint to make this event unique? I decided on a new 12 foot by 12 foot configuration that left a 4 foot by 4 foot hole in the center of my LED panels. I considered what to fill it with when someone suggested we add our logo. It turned out to be the perfect idea, and this is the story of how I built yet another awesome, really cool project. You know, I've said this so many times at this point. How am I ever going to do a project bigger, better, cooler than this one right now? Well, you see, the answer is this, that I never try to one-up myself, because that's never the goal. Each project has helped me to learn something new, and when I'm not adding something new, I'm often learning how to make these projects work together to create something new, or how to incorporate these projects in a new way. So I am super excited with how this project turned out, and here, as a sneak peek, I want to show you some of the reactions that people had before the lights were even turned on.
Oh! Yeah! That's awesome.
Let's go!
Let's go.
Oh, I love it.
I love it too.
Yes.
Wow.
Well done. So to get started on this project, I had to assemble some supplies. We needed black paint, several packs of LED strip, a 70 amp, 350 watt power supply, wire, LED controller, and a sheet of 1/8 inch wood. I purchased the wood and paint from Lowe's and was very happy when the wood fit in my car. I needed a 4 foot by 4 foot cut, so I had them cut it in half. All is good, except the guy that cut it also hasn't learned the idea of measure twice, cut once. I know everyone isn't perfect. For me, I measure about 12 times, and then I have someone else confirm my measurements, then we cut. I clearly stated what I needed, and I just assumed he knew what he was doing. I was annoyed, but didn't press the issue. So maybe I should have, because his excuse was that it's a rough cut saw. So this is the sheet we're gonna use. I'm going to measure this so that we can take a 1/4 of an inch off, and then I'm gonna go ahead and use that as a straight edge. I decided to take the long piece and cut a 1/4 inch off to make it a perfect 48 inches. But have you ever tried to take a 1/4 inch off with a circular saw? I should have put it on a table saw. Why get out a sawhorse when you can use this? Crate from the Christmas stage design. Oh, you know what? I might need to get some more crates. I might need that a little bit more flat than I can do there. So for paint, I went with matte black. I learned my lesson after we painted our living room glossy blue. Stop laughing at me. We wanted to make it our podcast recording space. It's horrible as every wall reflects the light instead of absorbing it. Matte black it is. And I bought a gallon, it was 30 bucks. It was $15 for a quart, $30 for 4 times that. Crazy. I used to drink a lot of milk, so I learned there's 4 quarts in a gallon. Well, I think that's a great place to start. It looks like a good base. I'm gonna let it dry, and then we will move on to the next step. Painting is fun. You just gotta roll and roll and roll all the way till the end of the paint, and then you put the rest of it back in the can. Well, anyways, you keep rolling, and stuff gets painted. And I also was intentional to paint the edges so that we don't have any like little bright light color spots showing from the wood. So, well, I have laid out some washers. I'm using them as spacers. Actually, they're more like location markers. Okay, please continue. In order to know where my key points are, I reference the Fusion 360 file and then measure from the edge to get my key points laid out. The bottom left, center spots, then bottom right, the top 2 spots, then I should be able to figure out the rest of the points from there. So as you can see, I did design this whole project in Fusion 360. If you have this tool or something similar, I highly recommend laying out the project before you begin building. I'll talk in a minute about how I could have taken this to the next level and saved myself a ton of time. It is silly I didn't, because I have the experience with this stuff to know exactly what I should have done. Apparently this is a great example though of why we don't build a project like this the day before it needs to be done. Yeah, I'm never gonna learn that. So now that I've got stuff marked, I'm gonna keep cutting strips and putting it in the right spots. Okay, so this gap is 12.5 inches. There is a 2.5 inch gap here that goes on the logo. So I'm gonna make this first cut 7 inches. That should put us about 11 pixels. So if I make this gap about 7 inches, that strip falling off the table basically sums up how this process went. For the most part, I cut and stuck strips. You wanna see it again? basically sums up how this process went. For the most part, I cut and then stuck the strips, but it was important to know both where the strip was coming from and where it was going. We're getting there though. I'm continuing to cut and stick strips. Getting the spacing perfect was tough, however. I also had to pay close attention to make sure I was maintaining the signal path. This addressable LED strip is one direction. So if I stick a section of strip the wrong direction, I then get to pull it back up, and that's really not great for the adhesive on the back of the strip. Hey, the outside edge is down. It looks really good. I'm excited about how this is turning out. Just want to make sure that I'm putting stuff down exactly where it needs to be, because if I don't do a good job here, the next step is going to be even harder. I'm kind of not trying to screw it up. I might also not have enough LED strip. I thought 3 rolls would be enough. We'll figure it out. It's going to be great. Looks good. Can't wait to see it lit. Done. LED strip is down. So if you've never seen the promo video for my actual LED panel boards that I build, they're 4x8 sheets and they go together to create an incredible background for any stage. This thing, pretty darn cool. But it's no LED boards. This thing is literally looking so good. That was such a painstaking process. One of the biggest things we learned when we built the first round of LED boards is that using a CNC router to CNC where the LED strip goes does 2 incredible things. It insets the LED strip into the material, as well as it gives us a place to put it. So we know exactly where the strip is supposed to go on the boards when we assemble them, because there's little grooves cut out that the CNC router does. I didn't think ahead enough on this project to go cut out this board with the CNC router, so I've been standing here for like hours trying to figure out where do these dumb strips go. Wow, it's been kind of stressful, but this thing looks incredible. Ah, man, I got a lot of soldering to do now, but this is gonna look so good. Yeah, let's do it. So yes, I used the slow method, but this really was a good learning moment for the next time that I create someone an LED logo. Check out my store on Etsy. Well, I've trashed the floor of my living room. You know, this room hasn't been used as a living room in a long time. We built this awesome table, and ever since then, it's gotten used as a project room. So I'm gonna have to go and clean up all of these blue wrappers from the LED strip, but this thing, dude. So if you're one of the people that have seen this video, the LED pixel mappable cross video that I made, so I went back and I looked at this video because I needed to see how many pixels I can run on each strip without re-injecting power into the system. When we first built the cross here, one of the issues we had was that the pixels would lose their brightness. They lost enough power. Once you got into about 100 pixels, you started losing power towards the end. You want to keep a constant 5 volts in those pixels, and if you lose power, you're not going to be able to maintain full white. So I want to fix that for this project. So I went through and I figured out that we can do about 100 pixels. So I made this spreadsheet here which tells me exactly how many pixels are in each line, and then I figured out where I needed to inject power. So now I'm gonna go through and I'm gonna say, okay, so right here it says that the first strip is 55 pixels, 11 pixels, 42 pixels, and that adds up to 108. So I'm gonna go ahead and 1, 2, 3, so we need to inject power right here, which is gonna be for the second set of pixels. And the next set is 101, and that's gonna go through the next 3 strips. So 1, 2, 3, and then about right here, we're gonna have to re-inject power. So that's just a good way to figure out where do we need to inject power. Now that I have that information, I'm gonna drill some holes into the board, and I'm gonna be able to bring power through to the back of it. So I'm gonna use this little thin flexible cable. I'm not sure what gauge this is, but it's just a thin flexible stranded, not core wire. This will go up through the board and solder to the pixel strips. And then on the back of the board, I'm gonna use some thicker gauge wire to be the stuff that I actually run from the power supply to the different injection points on the back of the project. So I drilled the first hole and you can see all the sawdust, and I'm remembering that matte black paint really doesn't like to, if I just blow on it, it's gonna make a mess and it's gonna get all over it. So I got out the vacuum cleaner. Maybe I'll clean up these blue bits when I'm done. All clean. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and drill these last 2 holes. These are the power and data injection ports for the first, or the middle strips here. I'm lifting this up a bit so that I don't accidentally drill into our table here. Now, I'm gonna go ahead and get this sandpaper that I've got laying here, and I'm gonna clean up the underside because it can get all chipped up and stuff, so I wanna make sure that it's nice and ready to push some wires through. So this is the power supply I'm gonna be using to power the logo, and we're gonna mount it on the back of it, and I'm gonna drill some holes through the board to attach to the screw points on the back of it. So I've got these screws here, and I'm going to first, I need to figure out where I'm putting this thing. So in order to do that, I'm gonna take the sheet of paper and I'm gonna cut it to size. I'm gonna use my knife here to kind of like make it the size it's supposed to be, and then I'll just fold it. Basically, I'm gonna use this sheet of paper as a template for where it's supposed to go. That way I know where to drill. Okay. So I can just rip this from the bigger piece of paper here. So the big thing I'm actually gonna use this sheet of paper for is, I'll put it back over top of here. There are 4 screw holes, 1, 2, 3, 4, and I'm gonna use this to figure out where they are. So I'm gonna take this screw here and I'm gonna poke a hole through this paper, and here is 4. So now, when I go to flip this thing over, actually I'm gonna drill from the top because I think that'll be a lot easier. So let's move this over here. And I wanna put, so I'm gonna be running power to right here, to right here, to 2 right there, and then 1 to over here, so 1 to up there, and 1 to right there. So I think I'm gonna locate it in this general direction, about in the middle, right here. It only a little bit matters where on the board the power supply is mounted. We can realistically run wires to just about anywhere. I'm gonna put it right here because this hides the screw holes on the surface a little bit. Yeah, we can paint them black and stuff, but it's still a good idea to hide them as much as possible. I'm also gonna grab the tape measure and make sure that this is even. Looks good to me. See that? I measured it twice. I'm just gonna make some rough holes here. Even though the piece of paper does a nice job of keeping all the dust up top, that's kind of cool. Okay, we'll get rid of that. Sweet, I'm gonna just put the power supply down there as kind of a rough mounting thing. First, let's stick these screws through and make sure they fit. I used a bit that was a little bit too small, but I think we can make it work. Especially if we take the drill, it'll definitely work then. And now I'll take the power supply and stick it under there, try and line it up. We're gonna have to mount the controller, but we'll do that later. So as you can see, I've gotten a lot done to this point. We actually had worship practice that night, so I went over to the church and listened to the worship team while I started soldering. I thought it'd be cool to reveal the project to some people when I got there, so I did that, and the results, well, you heard some of them in the beginning, but here's a little more.
Nice, Nathan. Love it. I want to see it lit up.
Yeah, it's not quite that far yet. I have to finish wiring it. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I'm glad you all like it. Ben, turn the lights on.
Oh wow, that's really cool. So pretty. That's awesome.
Oh, they like it. I'm so proud. Well, the true reveal always comes at the event the new thing was designed for. When I left the church at 9 p.m., I semi-sarcastically told someone I still had 6 hours of work to do. I was right. I finished about 3 a.m. Well, it's almost 1:30 in the morning. I am wiped, but this thing's looking great. So I got the power supply mounted earlier. I got the controller mounted just a bit ago. I got all the wires pulled through for the different places I'm sending power to the pixel strips. And then I tied them together with this trunk cable, something we learned, bringing power off of here to all these different locations. Yeah, it doesn't look like I missed any. I'm gonna go ahead and plug it in and we're gonna see how this goes. I didn't have time to print a nice cover for the front of it, so we just got a power cord sticking out the back of it. It's not the greatest solution. Definitely need a quick disconnect from the power supply here, but I think we're good to go. So I'm pretty confident with the connections on the back. I'm gonna go through and with my flashlight and check the connections on the front. I think we're good to go. Let's plug it in. Well, I'm sure as you can imagine at 1:45 in the morning, there's only one reason I'm smiling. It works. Man, that thing's pretty cool. Let's see what kind of content we can put on it. Welcome everyone to the Weight Out Movement Mental Health Seminar in January of 2023. This looks really good. It took way longer than we thought it was gonna take, but dang. Let's poll the audience. Audience member, what do you think?
It's very great. I like it. It was worth it, the work.
I agree. audience member / camera operator.
Hi. Yeah, so no, my holding skills were.
Yeah, you definitely
really
did a
pulled
lot
together.
there in the last moments. You like held it all up so that
Yeah.
we could. Cornelia, she claims to
She
be
was
short.
too small.
She was too small, so she couldn't quite get it. But
Couldn't reach it.
Myron, did you have anything to say about the whole situation developing here?
No, it looks great. Thank you for making my vision a reality, Nathan.
So excited to be here.
What do you think?
I love it. It looks awesome. Good job.
It was so much better than I thought it was going to.
I know, right?
You have to like put individual.
The whole event was a huge hit. I love the new panel configuration. I heard a lot of great comments about the logo in the middle, as well as the whole setup. People even the following week were telling me how awesome they thought the whole thing was, that we had put so much time and energy into having such an incredible environment for our event. Well, hey guys, thanks so much for watching this video where I went through the process of building this new LED logo that goes in the middle of the panels. This thing was such a cool project to build. It's 4 foot by 4 foot and I am in love. I got some ideas for the future of where we're gonna put it, how we're gonna use it, because we can't always use this 12 foot by 12 foot panel configuration. Currently at the Way on Wednesdays, we're doing the 16 by 8 foot panel configuration because the ceiling's not tall enough. But we're gonna do some more stuff in the future, I can guarantee that, and I'll bring you along for the ride. Thanks so much for watching the video. See you next time. Adios.